Welcome to Dawn of a Story. This is more than a podcast. It's a place where we speak the truth, tell the stories that shape us, and honor the moments that made us who we are. I created the space because I believe storytelling is how we connect, how we heal, and how we remember who we are. Some stories are still being written. Some are full of laughter. Some have changed everything, but all of them matter. Whether it's my story or one of my guests, my hope is that you hear something that resonates, that reminds you that you are not alone and encourages you to tell your story too. So settle in because every story starts somewhere, and this one starts now. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to Dawn of a Story. I'm your host, Dawn Pascal. I'm so very grateful you decided to spend your time with me and my guest this week, Kurt Biroc. Every show, we will be exploring a new theme, and this week's theme is pivot, pivot, pivot. Some stories aren't about the perfect plan, they're about the unexpected turns. In this episode, I'm talking with Kurt Biroc, the founder of Freakin Vegan, about the pivots that shaped his path. From big shifts to bold leaps, this one is all about what it takes to change direction and trust that it's leading you somewhere better. So let me tell you a little about my guest. New York, New Jersey native his entire life, Kurt has always been passionate about great food and about animal rights. He's been vegetarian since 1990, fully vegan since 2012, and owner of the amazing Freakin Vegan since 2014. His philosophy is win people over with amazing vegan food and give them another way to view the world and the other species whom we share it. So without further ado, let's get started. Hey, Kurt, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Oh,
It's
please.
good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here. We've got a good theme. We've got pivot, 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 right?
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's all about pivoting. So, okay, let's start. You've built something amazing and bold with Freakin Vegan, but like, most great stories, it didn't unfold in a straight line. What's one moment when you knew you had to pivot, even if it meant letting go of what came before?
Oh well, I think the COVID episode in early 2020 has to be, and it is for many people, I'm sure, but I think that has to be the defining moment where we really changed the business hard. When we started out, we had a bunch of ideas in mind of what the business would be, and that obviously altered year after year. And we were doing mostly by 2019, we were doing mostly big festivals, some catering, we had a bunch of wholesale accounts. But I mean, COVID really forced us to take a look at what we were doing. And the only thing that was available at the time really was to become a takeout place, which we dabbled in a little bit before that. But COVID forced us hard because all of a sudden the festivals all stopped. The catering went away because no one was holding parties.
Hmm?
And the wholesale stopped because everyone shut down their stores. One of the only things available, and it's kind of funny to think about now, but the government was classifying, restaurants as essential services. So we were still able to, do takeout and delivery all through the pandemic. We never closed a single day because we pivoted very hard into focusing all our energy on doing takeout and built ourselves a takeout place, which we effectively still are 90% today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. 2020, pivotal year. We've heard that statement made so many different times. I feel the pain and know exactly what you went through, right? My pivot was a bit different. I
Yeah.
was, just a bakery and you were selling savory food. So you had,
Right.
I think, probably a greater option and ability to stay open and provide meals to folks. Whereas I think that I was viewed more as like a luxury. So I closed for the 3 months, but that's a whole other episode.
Yeah, and I think people, certain things as well too. Like a bakery is very much a trip to the bakery type of
Right.
situation. People very much want to look at and see all the beautiful stuff that's made, and that's I think they're more comfortable ordering a sandwich and having it sent over to their house with a driver. But a bakery is kind of like, Sunday after church kind of thing, weekends with somebody that you love. That's like you pass a bakery, you stop in there, you see what's in there, you see all the beautiful stuff they made, and you're like, it's an outing, it's a thing. It's not just the food, it's an event to go to. Whereas what we were doing probably is just sustaining people for their lunch break for the day. And yeah, so we actually did the first year of COVID, we were pretty busy. I mean, a lot of places weren't even open for people to get lunch. So that left, the people that were able to swing it. And that was us partly, especially in the vegan world, which is, an even smaller market. So a lot of people came from very far distances to get our food.
And be supportive, which is
And we
wonderful
supported
to
them. A
hear.
lot of people came out like crazy to make sure that we would try to stay afloat during that time. Absolutely true.
So you made the best of a difficult situation.
Yeah, we did, and we were kind of the king of the festivals, especially like the vegan veg
I
fest.
know.
We were the ones with the big line, and we would do. There was one festival in 2019. Is it probably the last really big one right before the pandemic, where we bought and sold 600 pounds of mac and cheese in one single day.
Amazing.
I don't even know how we made that much mac and cheese, but that was how it was. Thousands and thousands of people would come to all these festivals. We would do them all over New York, New Jersey, PA, and Connecticut, and it was terrific. And we would cook for a couple days a week, and then we would go out on the weekends, sometimes in two teams with a setup for two different areas. I remember a lot of times there were big events happening in two different areas, and we were kind of expected to be at all of them.
Right.
So we would do both, and we would just kill it. It was kind of a glorious time. It's like reminds me of that opening, the opening segment in Goodfellas where they're talking about how beautiful it was back when.
Right. Right.
We really had to change hard. We were very comfortable making, because the menu, especially too for a festival, is limited. Like you put out what we
Your
do
best
to
dishes.
your best dishes and your quickest dishes, because you don't want people waiting. People want to
Right.
try everything at a festival, and if they're waiting in line for 45 minutes, they get a little upset. So we would always bring the stuff, arguably our most popular stuff, but we would always also bring the stuff that we could serve quickly to people. But that's a lot less work to make 10 items than it is to make 100 different items, which we have here in our takeout menu. Got to give people a lot of variety when you have a restaurant.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, look, I know about the festivals, and that's how we met. We met back, I want to
True.
say it might have been 2015 or 2016 at the
Right.
Seed Market, right?
Yeah.
On West 17th Street, I think, in
18th.
Manhattan. 18th?
Yep.
Okay, West
Yep.
18th Street. And I remember, looking at your food and what you offered and making that connection to something that's very nostalgic. So even though it was vegan, it was
Right.
also familiar.
Yeah.
And it didn't make a
Yeah.
difference that it was an alternative, quote unquote, version of it. You are making food that people know.
That's very intentional too, because I mean, we grew up in this area. I mean, basically, I mean, we're kind of like multi descent in our family, but we grew up raised predominantly Italian, because as you know, that kind of takes over.
Mhm.
And so we grew up cooking.
Yes,
We
I do
love
know.
it. And we wanted people who were doing plant-based or people who were vegan to have all the amazing dishes that we grew up with. The chicken parms and the mac and cheese and the Philly cheesesteak heroes and the mashed potato balls and stuff. That's very intentional. Like we literally went through, like combed our lives and thought, like, what are all the dishes that we all grew up with and everybody wants to have? A burger, just burger and fries, and cheese on the fries. Like we grew up here, the disco fries,
Disco
like
fries.
gravy and cheese on the
Hmm.
French fries in the diner. So we wanted everybody to have all those things. They shouldn't be denied those things because they're doing a vegetarian or a vegan diet now. So that was by design.
Well, and it works, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that I frequented your place and you did several pop-ups at my bakery, and
Yes. Remember? Yeah.
and the collaboration between the two of us really
Yeah.
worked. They,
It
and
was great.
they were supportive from both sides. So it was really,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good time,
It
back
was, yeah.
then.
I think about those very fondly now.
Yeah,
And
me too.
people were very happy to come and get both of us at the same time. That was really nice. And it's always, it's fun too, because you get stuck in your daily routine too. I always kind of cherish like being able to spend the day with my friends in a different setting and do that kind of thing. That's why the festivals and the markets were so wonderful. That Brooklyn shop up that we all used to do years ago.
Right.
We all kind of bonded. Like we all feel like we're sort of OG warriors of the vegan movement. That so many people came out of those events, the Seed and the
Hmm.
VSU in Bushwick.
Right.
That's kind of where we all started. And now
Right.
everybody's moved on to do different things. Speaking of pivot, but that's kind of where it all started. Veganism really started to take an upturn, I would say, in probably 2012, 2013.
Hmm.
And then it started to skyrocket, 14, 15, 16, 17. And, we were all kind of there for it. I feel like we were all part of it.
We were. We absolutely were. So I know that a lot of what we can talk about is pivoting due to the circumstances and the
Right.
events of 2020. But how else have you pivoted? At what other times were pivots just something that you needed to
Sure.
do, or the direction change that you really needed to do?
It's ongoing, and I'll give you a quick run through the Freakin Vegan thing. So I became vegetarian in 1990. I read an article in Newsweek about food distribution on the planet, and I was like, I was 20 years old, and I was like, I can't stand this march. I was that guy. So and then I spent the next 10 years arguing with every friend and family member that I had about it and how I was going to die from lack of protein and all the stereotypes.
Right.
But in somewhere around 2010 or 11, maybe 2012, my friend Ray had a little get together at a yoga studio to introduce people to veganism. And I tell everyone he did the whole thing, like he did it from a very, very gentle perspective, like, kind of guiding people. And I tell everyone I didn't really learn anything that night that I didn't know. But what I did get was it kind of forced me to put up or shut up. I was like, all right, I know all these things and I'm vegetarian. I'll still put cream in my coffee. I'll still eat fish if I go out to a restaurant. I really got to do the vegan thing because it lines up with my beliefs. Talk about pivot right there at that moment when I decided to be fully vegan. All of a sudden, nothing in the supermarket was available to me to just buy and eat. I had to buy ingredients and I had to make everything from scratch in
Hmm.
order to maintain a vegan diet. And right away, I got to thinking, well, I can't be the only one with this problem. And right then and there, Freakin Vegan was born. I actually had the name Freakin Vegan in my head from the 90s. I kind of was toying with the idea of doing a cafe, so I had it in the back of my head, but uh, now all of a sudden we had someplace to go, and the
And a
first idea
need, and a
and a
need,
need.
and a big need.
Right. The first idea was to make something simple that could be frozen and go into supermarkets.
Hmm.
But and you've been down this road too, so it's a very big leap to go from doing absolutely nothing in the food industry to selling, hundreds of thousands of units in a store. And kind of nobody wants to help you. Distributors are not there to help you get into places. They're there to take over what you've done and take a cut of it once you start to get too big to handle it on your own.
And especially when you're small, right? And just
Especially when
starting
you're
out.
small. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, everyone's happy to take your idea or take something that you've created, but nobody wants to help push you along. So little by little, we started doing farmers markets, and then we started doing this vegan shop up, and then we started doing other big festivals. Like I remember clearly, we were at the vegan shop up one day, and someone from Bethlehem Veg Fest asked us if we wanted to come do a big vegan festival in Bethlehem. And we're like, yeah, sure. So we had no idea what to expect. We made 5 times as much stuff as we'd ever made for one day. And we went out there and we got bombarded by people. There was a line of 50 people and they wanted stuff from us as fast as possible. And we looked at each other like, oh my God, this is insane. What's happening here? And the light bulb went off. We're like, oh, we got to do more of these festivals. Like we left there, with a couple grand in one day. And we were like, oh, this is what to do. This is how we can make money doing this. Finally, there was a light. So we really geared all our stuff. We pivoted and we geared our energy towards doing, farmers markets and as many of these festivals as we could find. And as it would happen, just after that, the girls from New Jersey Veg Fest contacted us and they were like, hey, we're starting a vegan Veg Fest thing in New Jersey. And we went and did the first one there, and all of that's kind of history. Then we just sort of blew up doing these festivals.
Right.
And in between, because the festivals tend to be more summer things. Like, luckily, the New Jersey Veg Fest ones would run through the winter too. They do a couple in Asbury, a
Mhm.
couple in Orangetown, and it helps sustain us. But in between, we were starting to take on, and again, you got the winter months are lean. What else are we going to do? Pivot again. We started contacting other people and packaging our stuff to smaller locations so that they could take, our stuff and sell it in their stores. We got probably, I would say, a dozen and a half different locations that were selling our stuff, and we were like, okay, this is good. What else are we going to do? We started doing whatever little farmers markets, and we started advertising for catering. We're like, we're in here all week. Let's do some catering. We would get the odd catering gig here and there, like
Mhm.
anything we could do to perpetuate, getting an income, and then we would keep the ball rolling until the festival started up in the spring, usually around April or May, and then we would just blow it out all summer, all the way through the fall.
Right.
So that's and that kind of continued all the way up and through COVID. I mean, just before COVID, I probably had about 2 dozen wholesale accounts. I was averaging catering, 2 weddings a year, and we were doing, I couldn't even count how many festivals we would do in a year. Festivals and farmers markets, probably, if I added them all up, uh, you know, uh, somewhere between 70 and 100 a year. It was a
Yeah,
lot.
2019, even for me, I can think back and remember, wow, this was even a pivotal year for me, right? It
Yeah,
was the most profitable year I ever had. I was in two Whole Foods. I had, I think, maybe 36 smaller wholesale accounts. I was delivering
right.
7 days a week. I
Yeah,
We were doing the collaborations at least probably every other month. You were coming to the bakery and
right.
doing a pop up that day, and I had other folks come by too. So, yeah, it just and then the landscape changed, right? We could talk about all the devastating ways that hit us as small
Yeah.
business owners. But I additionally want to ask you, how much of those changes and pivots did you feel came from the need that you saw, or just the vision that you had for the company overall?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't think I've ever kind of looked back on that. I think of a lot of the changes are born from necessity. You have to keep your income moving. You have to keep cash flow going to stay alive. We've got a mortgage, so got to keep. They expect that every month. I don't know what got into their heads, but they're very unforgiving about that. They just
Yes.
want
Mm,
they want that
mm.
payment every month. If you take a look back from this perspective, I think inherently somehow I was always pointed. If you go back to the 90s where I had this idea of having like a little cafe where people could come in and get food, it's a very romantic idea, having a place that people will come into. And I'm
Mhm.
sure you're familiar with this too. The idea that you're going to make a cozy little beautiful spot and serve amazing food, and people are going to come in and be like, "Hooray, you're awesome. This is great." And it's
Right.
very intoxicating. But there's a lot else behind it that's very difficult too. So I think I was kind of always pointed somehow, even though we didn't start out there. I was kind of always pointed at having like this sort of takeout spot where people would come in and have our food. I'm a very hospitable person. I like to have people. I like to cook for them. And I think all the other things that we've done have been, I wouldn't say forced, but necessitated by your need to earn a living while you're doing something that you love. You
Right.
know, like I probably wouldn't prefer to do wholesale because it sells for less. It's a lot of money. There's delivery
You
involved.
need volume. You absolutely need
You need
volume to
volume to
sustain
make it good,
wholesale.
right?
Right.
Yeah. And catering, although I kind of love it, it's a little nuts. Like the Thanksgiving catering we do every year is absolutely bonkers. It's like like we've had, Cory Booker came in here one year and picked up the food for his family himself. The first year we were open here, like Thanksgiving catering is just off the charts. Just an insane week. It's like 7 days straight of no sleep and just mashing potatoes until
Right.
you can't mash anymore. Um,
Prep
but it
until you
also
die.
yeah, exactly. But it interrupts the system. Like,
Right.
the money from it is great and the feel of it is great and the the love that you get from the customers for the food is terrific, and how grateful they are, especially vegan customers. I have to say, I know restaurant people get, restaurateurs wind up with they get a lot of crap from customers. Vegan customers in general are very, very grateful that we do what we do, and I'm grateful to be able to serve them food and do for them what we do, because they have much less to choose from out there. So they always have this real genuine gratitude that we're doing what we do. I'm sure you've heard that too with the vegan and the gluten-free thing that you did too, because gluten-free people have it even tougher than vegans. Especially to get good stuff, because
Right.
it's easy to veganize something, at least in my perspective. Like, I can take a cake and veganize it and be pretty confident with it. To make a delicious gluten-free version of a regular cake is really tough.
Yeah,
So,
it was
food,
challenging. Absolutely was challenging.
but like the people, but when you do, like, the people are so grateful that
Right.
you're doing that for them. It's very rewarding. So that's pretty good too. But I think most of the changes um, have been a need for just us to sustain ourselves. I think everything was kind of pointed towards doing this kind of cafe thing where we do takeout.
And here you are today, right?
Yeah.
Your 1990 20-year-old person vision
Right.
is alive and kicking today. So
Right.
good for you. Congratulations. I know it was a tough road to get there, but you're here.
It is a tough road, and, like, you still have to consider too. The food business is, like I said, it's very romantic from the outside perspective.
Right.
Like, the notion that you're going to bring people in and seat them and serve them your food, and they're gonna love what you make
Right.
for them.
Right.
And that really does happen a lot. Like I said, that people are very grateful, and I get a lot of positive feedback about our food. Like, people really, really love it. We very rarely have anybody complain about something, and if we ever do, like, we go over the top to try and make it right for them. But for the most part, people really are grateful, and they just love the food. And that's my point too. Like, I always wanted to have a place where anything you made, especially because it's vegan, because it's plant-based, has to be amazing. It's not just enough for it to be vegan. Like, every item on our menu, and there's a lot, this is a big menu. I'm looking up at the menu board on the
Mhm.
wall. We worked really hard on making sure that it's absolutely delicious. It doesn't necessarily have to exactly replicate the non-vegan version, like the traditional animal, protein based
Right.
food, but it has to be amazing. People have to walk away from it and go like, wow, I want to eat that again. I can't wait to have that again. So many people come back in, they get hung up. People are like, this is a big menu, I'm going to work my way through it and try everything. Everybody gets hung up on one thing, and they come in every week and order the same thing because they just love it and can't get away from it. And that's wonderful. But the restaurant business, however, is kind of unforgiving. And talk about, pivot again. We have to think about where we're moving, beyond this. Are we going to stick it out? Because I'm older now than I was when I started.
Right.
I don't have the same strength and endurance I had 12 years ago, 13 years ago when we started. It's a lot for me to be dragging the stuff around to do the festivals and carrying all this, setting up the tent and carrying giant heavy things of mac and
Right.
cheese.
Well,
And
right. And the supply chain is different, right? And
supply
the
chain is
and the
different.
ingredients cost more, and the disposable income of your customers has also changed. So there's
That's
a
also
lot
right.
there's
Yeah,
a ton of other factors that, sure, of course they affect you, right? How could they
yeah.
not?
We got it in the restaurant business. We got it from both sides. Not only did some of the costs go up, like, double or triple, like silly
Right.
things, like the little trays we put the food in, tripled in cost. Like, we have to absorb that. At a certain point, you have to raise the prices a little bit, but people are already struggling to pay
Right.
so much for lunch, and then you're gonna make a sandwich $18 for somebody. Somebody's just trying to eat lunch.
Right.
People can only afford so much, so you're caught in the middle of there. So people will start to spend a little bit less, or, 40, $50 dinner orders will become 20, $30 dinner orders, or people who are spending $30 will start spending 20. And that's kind of across the board, because they have less to spend and your prices have to go up because your
Right.
costs go up. It's tough. The rent here is not small, and it's a lot to sustain. And PSE&G wants their money every month, and it's a lot to fight constantly. It's like you're swimming against the current a lot. So
Yes.
we have to think about where we're going to pivot next with this business. Are we gonna stay here and keep going? Like if things get better, probably. But if if things keep at the pace they are, where it's where it's a nonstop struggle, you have to start to think about like what's good. Like this is not just my livelihood. This is also my life.
Right.
How many hours can you spend at work at a job that's rewarding, but really tough mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if anybody else has ever, cried while they're at work when the doors close.
I
But
have, even
yeah,
with the doors open.
yeah,
Yes, I know
you
that
know,
feeling. I'm sorry
it's
to say that out loud and
well, you do,
and
and
admit and agree,
yeah,
but yes, I
you
have.
know exactly what I'm talking about. It takes your heart and your soul here,
It
and
does.
it's a lot.
It
Yeah,
does. It does.
I do love it. I do still love what we created.
Well, good. Well, yes, and I'm happy to hear you say that because I love what you do, and I've always hopefully have come across to be a champion for Freakin Vegan, and of
You always
course you're
have.
my friend, and I just love the fact that you provide something familiar
There you
for
go. That's so
people,
true.
to enjoy, and I know they love that. People love to tap
Yeah,
into whether it's their childhood meal that they had, and but of course catering to their lifestyle now for
right.
whatever reason, medically,
Yeah,
morally, ethically. So if you look back over the course of all the changes and the redirections and the pivots and the oop, no, I got to go sharp left instead, how did you know that it was time to change course? Like, how do you know when it's time or push through on certain things?
I'm like old school Gen X. I'm like upper older level Gen X. So we have no give up in us, and
Right.
it's
That's right.
which is I used to wear as a badge of honor, and now I'm starting to think it's a personality defect. I will push and push and push and not give up until something forces me and stops me, and then I have to think, and I take a step back and I'll say, okay, like you have to concede here. It's time to pivot. It's time to move. It's time to change. Like I will grind something out until I can no longer do it. At one point we had two places, and I was running back and forth. I was probably working 90 hours a week,
Right.
running back and
Easily.
forth between the two places, trying to, put out a fire here. I would, run to one place and, somebody burned a pizza in the other one, or I would be at that one and somebody would call in sick without telling me in the other one. And around we go, like working like, what felt like 18, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, if certain things hadn't forced me into rethinking what I'm doing, I'd probably still be doing it too, trying to like I'm going to make it work, I'm going to make it happen, we're going to make this happen. But you gotta, and that thing that I well that thing is actually a person. My wife is always like, sit down, shut up a minute, and listen to me. Look what you're doing to yourself. She'll start to get like tear. She'll start to tear up and be like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see you doing what you're doing to yourself. You're killing yourself. Like your hands are a disaster.
Running yourself into the
Like
ground. Right.
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 You're exhausted all the time. Like you're running around, and like you have to rethink what you're doing here. Is like, is this what you want to do? Like she'll always say, if this is what you want to do, I don't want to stop you. I support you. But like, I don't think this is like you have no life. You need to have a life too. You need to have balance.
Right.
So I'll reassess that. And that's effectively why, when we took the Ridgewood space, a friend of mine is a realtor. She actually works at the realty place right across the street too. She found this spot. This little neighborhood here, we used to live in the house when we were first together on the other side of this parking lot. We had an apartment there for a few years when we were first together before we bought our first house together. We got married at a restaurant right up the street here. It's no longer the same restaurant, but it used to be an Argentinian restaurant, Marcello's. And we got married there on a Thursday night. So like this is like our neighborhood. Like we
Yeah.
know, like we have an attachment to this very spot. And we always had this strip, in fact, kind of across from Whole Foods. We always looked at the places when they were up for rent and we're like, we should put a Freakin Vegan there. So when this came available, I wanted to move our original spot, Prospect Park, which was not like a good walk-in traffic area, and it was in a neighborhood where, had like a low overhang the place. If a van was parked in front of us, you could drive past us and not even see us. I always wanted to move out of there to have a better spot. We had Cliffside Park, your old place, which we
Hmm.
turned into a Freakin Vegan, and we were there for a few years. I was just going to move the Prospect Park place here to Ridgewood when my friend found us this location. And Melena's like, look, we live one town over. We're 5 minutes away. Why don't you close the other location too and just be in one spot, make your life easier. When you're done at the end of the day of a 5 minute ride home, because Cliffside's 30, 40, 50 minutes from here,
Right.
depending on whether you're stuck in traffic. And Cliffside was doing pretty well, and it was a cute location like this. Well, you left it in good shape, so
Thank you.
all we did was paint. But there was a moment where I really had to think about this. Am I going to keep burning the candle at both ends here, or am I going to be smart and be in one spot, be in a place where I can control it better, be closer to home, make my life a little easier? And that's what we did. And I'm definitely happier for it. Like, Cliffside was doing well. It only opened it 2 years earlier. I didn't really want to let it go because I don't like to give up on anything, but it was smart and it was the right decision to let go and let somebody else take over that spot and do what they're doing there
Right.
and be in one place.
Right. And how I view it is that now you've finally landed. Not saying that Prospect Park and Cliffside Park weren't great locations for you,
Right.
but you finally landed where you've got a history. I didn't
Yeah.
know that you and Milena lived around the corner, and I didn't know that
Yeah.
you were married
Crazy
down the
thing.
block. And
Yeah.
so there you go. That's the story. Like
Yeah.
it almost seemed like it was inevitable that you would end up being in Ridgewood. I mean, that's at
Yeah.
least how I see it.
Yeah. And even now, like we've been here a few years, and like I said, I'm starting to think now, what am I going to do next? Am I going to stick this out? Am I going to move on and do something else? I feel like I kind of tied up that bow on this neighborhood, and we'll see. Like I said, if it makes sense, we'll keep doing this here. And if it doesn't, I'm already starting to think what's next down the road,
Right. Right. So,
Yeah.
how do you stay connected to your why when the path isn't always clear?
That's interesting. I have to really say, my friends reset me all the time. I have a bunch of really amazing vegan friends. I'll mention just a few. I mean, there's you, obviously. My friend Lori from Alt Eats, who
Hmm.
pops in here every once in a while. She was just here yesterday.
And
She
Lori will
pops
be on the show as well. Very
Good.
excited.
Very
Yep.
happy. She's going to be a great interview too. She's super smart and really passionate about what she does. Same situation. She loves what she does, but the business side is always has to be contended with. So she's wonderful. My friend Ray, who's a vegan rights activist, is in here all the time. He comes in to visit me, but I think mostly to water the plants because he knows without him they don't stand too much of a chance. Although I should mention this here. You gave
Looking
this to
great.
me when we first opened, and
It's
it's still
beautiful. It grew so big. Good. I'm happy.
yeah.
Excellent.
And my wife, obviously, who I mentioned, helps me continue. Like, keep in mind while you're doing this, and my friends from Halfway Home Animal Rescue Team, Franny Larita, Teresa Starzinski, and the whole group of people there. They every once in a while, when I'm maybe down or not feeling good, they'll call me up and come in here with a baby piglet that they just rescued, or a hairless cat, Mushroom, that they rescued. It's got to be more than 6 months ago at this point.
Wow.
But every once in a while, they pop in here and remind me, or they do something that reminds me of why I'm doing it. Because I think of it, this isn't just the cooking too, because the animal rights thing is super important to me. This is why I do this. This is my activism. A lot of people get out there and march. A lot of people do rescue. My activism is food,
Great.
because yeah, I think you reach people and you change people with food. Food is communal. Food is tradition. It's your,
It's
it's
community.
your
It's what ties us
exactly.
together.
It's your friendship.
Absolutely.
It's your love. Like when you first start being with somebody that you're falling in love with, like you go places and you try food together.
Right.
When you get together for holidays with your family. So I think you reach people with food. And if I can just open them up to the idea that vegan food is just as amazing and just as wonderful and just the same thing. Like my mom is, you know, Brooklyn Italian girl who grew up with all the heavy meats and the Sunday gravy and the sausage in the sauce and the meatballs and the whole thing. It was her birthday last week, and she came over and made her a vegan eggplant parm. She asked for it, with the tofu ricotta and our mozzarella, and it's exactly still an eggplant parm. Tastes exactly like the ones we grew up with that she used to make, and she
Right.
loves it.
And
And
that's
that's
the
like
connection. And
you
that's the
reach people.
connection.
Like that's our vegan parm now. And I think there's always somebody coming in here, and the couple will come in here and be like, "Oh, this one's the vegan, and I'm not the vegan." But you come in here and you try the chicken parm, and you come back in from the car after you ate half the sandwich, and you're like, "I can't believe that was vegan. That's nuts." That's what
Right.
I'm doing. That's what I'm
Right.
doing.
Right. Well, and that's the point of why I started the bakery as well. I
Right.
wanted to create a dessert that was universal. It didn't make a difference if you were on the vegan side or the gluten-free side. Didn't
Right.
make a difference if you had a medical, ethical, moral, sensitivity,
Right.
intolerance, whatever you want to say. It's a dessert for everybody. It was
Right.
made well, it was made with clean ingredients, it was made with love, of course, and it was better
Yep.
for you. So,
Yep.
of course,
Yep.
you want to feed
Exactly.
everybody. That's kind of the whole
Yeah.
point.
Yep. And it works too. I mean, I can't. So many people have come in here. I've had people at festivals, walk back after having the buffalo chicken mac and cheese, and I still got a line of 20 people that I'm trying to feed. And this guy would be like, "Hey, you, that was amazing. Best food I ever ate in my life. I can't believe this is vegan. I'm not vegan."
I love it.
Screaming at me in front of other people.
I love it.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
best.
That's the
And
best
yeah,
advertisement right there. Right there.
yep. You open up someone's mind, and all of a sudden that guy's thinking, well,
Right.
somebody else says to him, he's talking to his friends, I had this vegan food, and they'd be like, "Oh, vegan food." And he'd be like, "You know what? I got to tell you, you got to try this."
Right.
And start the conversation. You open up a dialogue about it.
Right.
That's the activism. You get people thinking a different way, because that's what changed me.
Right.
And it happened, it kind of happened on my own. It wasn't somebody else talking to me, but what I read, I was like, oh, a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, this is not a system I want to be part of. I need to be part of the change. And for better or for worse, I've been part of the change for a long time now.
You have been. You have been.
Yeah.
Well, and you've definitely made a
Good.
dent. That's
Maybe
absolutely
a
true.
tiny little dent
You have.
in the cyber truck of life, but
You have.
it's a
You,
small dent, yeah.
you have. So,
The
Kurt,
undentable cyber truck of American food
you're
industry, yeah.
you're funny.
Yep.
So, for someone listening who's sort of standing at the crossroads, like, what would you say to them to help them take that next step?
I would say vegan cheese is now amazing, because that always seems to be the one that they can't like. I mean, I cannot eat meat, but I can't give up cheese.
Right.
Cheese is my life. Well, you know what? Yeah, 12 years ago when we started, I can maybe see that viewpoint, because we've all been in love with cheese since we were kids. I mean, it's amazing. But I used to think too, and that's when I was a vegetarian. I ate cheese for those 20 something years. I was just vegetarian. And I used to think, well, no one gets hurt. And that was me convincing myself somehow it's not as bad. Not that no one gets hurt, but it's not as bad. Dairy's probably worse. The dairy is more cruel and causes more harm, and it's worse for the human body too.
Right.
That's the odd dichotomy, the irony of it. So I would say you can do it. Take the steps forward. Just do it once a week, do it twice a week. Keep moving till you're good, and try the vegan cheese, and start to open your mind and think
Okay.
about it. You can
Okay.
do it. Yeah.
Okay. Before we go, I ask every guest the same question because I believe that the stories we leave behind say so much about how we showed up in the world. I want you to tell me one story, whether big or small, that you hope people remember you for.
Oh, that's
And you can
interesting.
say the vegan cheese too.
um, yeah, hmm, yeah, I'm in my head a lot. So I have like all these crazy philosophies about how to prepare food, like how to make food, because I have all these little rules. Everything has to be effing delicious, was our saying, like behind the scenes, and everything needs to be done a certain way. Like I want people to know, like whether it's the restaurant and the food that you're serving, or you're at a festival or a farmer's market, what people are looking for from you is not just the food and the love, but for them it's entertainment. When somebody goes out to the farmers market every Sunday, they do it for entertainment. They do it for a little thrill. And when you go to the festival, you're going there for a thrill. So I hope that if I did anything for people on their path, trying to be vegan or trying to make the world a kinder place, I hope I helped that along by giving them a little thrill and making it a little easier to do, because that was really my goal.
Well, you have, and I can attest, and your kindness on helping others who are breaking into the industry and just your generosity is really infectious. So, Kurt,
Thank you.
you're a
Right.
wonderful person. You really are. And I'm not just saying that because you're my friend. You
Yeah.
really are. You really
Well,
are.
real quick, you took part in this too. There was a dish named after you that I used to make when I was at your pop-ups that people come to the Ramsey Farmers Market and order. They order the Dawn,
Thank you.
which is a sweet corn tamale cake with a scoop of buffalo chicken and blue cheese on it.
Not literally, seriously, nothing better. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, yeah,
Once you have it,
absolutely
you can't.
amazing.
Yeah.
And thank
Yep.
you for that. Kurt, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for sharing all of your honest and raw experiences of what you've, dealt with and how you've grown Freakin Vegan and how much people really do um, love you and love what you do. And I'm so happy that you were part of sharing your story today. I want to thank everyone for tuning into this episode of Dawn of a Story. If you've heard something today that moved you, made you laugh, or made you think, share it with someone you love. Please like and subscribe to the show. And if you're feeling brave, I'd love to hear your story by commenting by commenting below. It helps other story lovers find us too. Until next time, keep listening, keep sharing, and keep telling your story. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.